What's up guys, before we get into today's review, I wanted to let you know to please hashtag your Instagram or Twitter photos with hashtag I'm a Gearist. We're going to be doing some exciting features coming up here pretty soon, and we want to make sure that we are able to see what really great pictures that you guys are taking out there in all your adventures. If you're not familiar with us on Instagram, just follow us at The Gearist or click this button right here on my face. It'll take you right on over there. Now thanks so much guys, and let's get into the review. What's up guys, Brandon here from Gearist. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Fli-Lyte from Topo Athletic. Here and there we get to take a look at a product where the best descriptor I can come up with is simple elegance. Now whether that's because that product is simply doing one thing and not really trying to go off in different tangents and accomplish different feats, but it's also because that product is something that when you're using it, you just use it with so much ease that you forget it's even there. And such is the case with the Fli-Lyte from Topo Athletic. So let's get right into talking about it. One of the things that's always stood out to me about Topo Athletic's Outsole is their dedication to the longevity of the product. Now, of course, there are a couple of exceptions, including the ST and the RR, both of which were racing or speed shoes built for shorter distances or track work or something like that. And as any shoe brand would come out with, those are not particularly built for being the most durable things in the world. However, every other Topo we've tried has been something that has held up extremely well, and this shoe is no exception. Now, the outsole of this guy right here is very much, well, it's pretty much identical to that of the Runduro, which you can see right here beside me. These shoes have a lot of similarities, but also differences that we're going to get into as we get further into this review. In both cases, it is a full contact outsole. You can see there are no gaps, no cutaways for the arch or anything like that, so you're constantly, if you're standing flat on the ground, in contact front to back of the shoe, which makes for quick transitions from the mid or rear foot to the toe-off section of the gate. The actual rubber on the bottom is two kinds of rubber. In high abrasion places like right here, and then kind of on this side up here, you've got a high abrasion carbon rubber compound. The rest of it is also made of a very durable blown rubber, which is going to improve traction and make sure that you've really got good purchase on the ground as well as good ground feel. It's been a bit since I originally reviewed the shoe in written form, and at that time I got the chance to run in some late spring snow, which was actually a good test for this. In a condition like that where there's some ice on the ground, not so great in terms of traction, but again, any running shoe that is not studded is not going to do well on ice, so that is not a strike at all against this. In wet conditions, dry conditions, dirt road conditions, and really kind of fire road type of path things, this handles really well. Not a trail shoe, this is a road shoe, but even on those type of dirt roads, it does very, very well. From a durability standpoint, once again, Topo has impressed me with this. This has only about 40 miles of running worth on it, and there are some places where there's a little bit of, I don't know, just kind of you're seeing kind of the texture of the outsole wear off, but they're in places that I would typically expect to see that on any shoe, especially by this point. And in this shoe, it's really not very pronounced at all. You've got some right here, because I tend to be a midfoot, forefoot lander, so you've got some right here on the lateral midfoot, and then right up here under the metatarsal heads, and that's pretty much it. Further, the flex grooves that are on the shoe are plentiful. You've got them here, 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 all up here, and that is going to make for a very, very flexible shoe, which goes through into the midsole, which we're going to talk about now. The similarities between the Runduro and the Fli-Lyte do not stop just to the outsole. They go over into the midsole, where these shoes have identical stack heights of 22 millimeters in the heel and 19 millimeters up in the forefoot for a net drop of 3 millimeters. The single density midsole foam itself is pleasantly firm, but not harsh by any stretch of the imagination, and this is mainly where that simple elegance comes into play for me. I feel like this is a very settled underfoot shoe. We're going to talk about this a bit more in the ride section, but it's just very quiet under the foot, and the responsiveness from that midsole foam is something that's not really just driving you off the ground, but it's also not cushioning and deadening your footfall and then in turn deadening your ground feel. This is something that is really, really solid, but again, it's just very quiet under your foot, and that's where it just feels like it disappears. Regardless of its similarity to the Runduro in terms of the stack height and the shape of the midsole, I do feel like there's a bit more flexibility in this shoe. And if you're somebody looking for a cushier ride, I would encourage you to give this at least 20 or 25 miles, which is where I saw kind of a break-in period. Give it 20 or 25 miles to really make a decision on that. The uppers of Topo Athletic shoes are something that we've always been impressed with here at Gearist. Now, in this particular case, they use a very flexible, very malleable mesh over the top, pretty much for the entirety of the upper there. The support structure is one of the coolest things because it was one of the first applications that we saw of 3D printing onto the upper. This makes for a very flexible design, and it also makes very strong. As you can see here, a lot of that webbing that you can see, that is all 3D printed onto the shoe and goes well from the front of the shoe, where there's a great toe bumper up here, really kind of a lot of support in those high abrasion areas where the foot and the shoe is going to fold and bend all the way through to the back of the shoe. And all the time we've been using Topo, which is pretty much since they came out, we've been very, very impressed with the durability of their uppers, much less, we talked about the outsole earlier. Now, the upper has never delaminated, has never broken down for us, but there's a caveat to that. Since we have so many shoes in rotation in a given time, there's a very unlikely chance that we're going to get over 100 miles in any particular shoe. So while your experience may be different, from all of our experience, we've been very impressed with the upper durability of this shoe as well. Moving into other parts of the upper, here on the heel, you can see we've got a nice heel pull if that's something that you like. And the tongue is also a really solid tongue that gives a lot of protection between the laces and the foot without being overly stuffed with foam or something like that. One thing that's a little odd about the tongue to me, and this is not a knock on the shoe at all, so please, before I open my mouth and say it, don't think that it is that the tongue feels a little short. You can see there it only comes up to below, actually, where the end of the throat and beginning of the collar is. So I always feel like I'm trying to pull it up, but I have yet to find it slipping below the laces or being uncomfortable. It's just when I'm tying it, I feel like the tongue is down somehow. But again, it doesn't affect comfort, it doesn't affect performance in any way. The tongue is not gusseted, it does not slide though, and I think that's a large portion to credit to the fact that there's a microfiber, kind of a faux leather almost, on top of the tongue, which is going to really hold it in place underneath those laces. One other little thing that I noticed about this shoe that I would like to see changed, if only for organizational purposes, is that it doesn't say Fli-Lyte anywhere on it. Over here it says 3mm drop right on the heel. Up here it says Topo Athletic, but it doesn't say Fli-Lyte. The only place that it really does is if you pull the tongue back and it says it back there. But I'd like to kind of see it say Fli-Lyte, like right over here or something like that. As with all of Topo Athletic shoes, this shoe is built on their amazing natural foot shaped last, which you can see right here provides an amazingly shaped toe box, which is just pretty much shaped like your foot. They're not trying to guess or trying to, fit around your foot. They're trying to fit the way that your foot is, and I really like that. Moving into the rear of the shoe, we've got this semi-rigid heel counter, which is both a little bit of an internal rigidity as well as rigidity from the 3D printed support structure on the outside. There is quite a bit of flexibility to it, but one thing that I really like about it is that it fits my very average foot well. I feel like there's a good heel cup inside, and I think that people with a lower volume foot might have a good time with this. While it's not necessarily built for somebody with a narrow foot, you can see where when this is cinched down up into the laces, that heel counter, that heel cup right there really is going to shape to a pretty low volume foot if needs be. That's not to say it's a narrow fit, because I didn't find it to be so at all, but I just feel like there's enough cinching room to accommodate a foot like that. Moving into the midfoot here, there is plenty of room for wider or more narrow feet. One thing that I think is an advantage to that, especially again for those more narrow feet, is because there's no tongue gusseting, there's no chance of that fabric in there possibly bunching up on you, folding over and being uncomfortable. I also feel like it is definitely worth mentioning again, if you're somebody like me who likes to see a shoe being the foot shape and really working with the foot instead of trying to shove the foot into its own mold, this toe box, this whole entire, pretty much the front half of the shoe, the whole shoe really, but particularly the front half of the shoe is just excellently shaped to work with the foot without being swimmy. Similar to the Runduro, the ride of the shoe is actually quite firm, as I mentioned above. However, I do feel like it had more cushioning, so I did confirm that with Topo themselves, and indeed, the midsole on this, the EVA, is a little bit lower in durometer. Now, the Fli-Lyte is meant to go whatever distance you want it to, and the caveat to that is this is a matter of taste. So, if you're someone who likes a firmer shoe, this is probably going to be a good situation for you. It's not harsh, but it is more firm. If you're looking for a hyper cushioned shoe, definitely not it, but there are other offerings in the Topo lineup that I would encourage you to check out. Now again, whether you're running a 5K or a marathon in this, it's a matter of taste, but definitely give it that break-in period to really know what the shoe is going to do with your foot. And as I mentioned earlier, the ground feel in the shoe is awesome. So you're gonna really be able to sense that ground, and that actually, believe it or not, helps with fatigue. It helps with being tired because you're engaging the foot. You're not just letting it sit there on a bed of soft foam or even too hard foam or something like that and letting your foot get beat up. This shoe is all about engaging that foot and allowing the foot to work as a foot. I feel like I said foot 16 times, rather than the shoe trying to do all the work for you. Once again, Topo Athletic has a solid shoe with this. It's a low drop shoe with that 3mm drop, a responsive ride, and something with excellent ground feel, which again, I think is important. And don't forget that fantastic foot shape down there. Probably one of the biggest selling points to this is that it comes in at $100. So you're not getting screwed. And again, this is a shoe that is going to last a long time. This outsole is really, really solid. And I feel like this, combined with that upper, is gonna go a long way. Now, our question for you guys today is, of the Topo Athletic shoes that are out there, what have you tried? If you've tried any of them, let us know in the comments section down below. Guys, don't forget to like and favorite this video, and please subscribe to this channel right here. You can do so by clicking that YouTube button right over there down in the right hand corner there. And also those are our social media outlets, which you can see right there. My personal Strava up at the top, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and all that kind of stuff. Basically, just look around for the Gearist or Gearist, and we're going to be the ones that are there. Also, don't forget to visit Gearist.com, which you see right here. We'd love to see you guys. Check out all our written reviews. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up, especially as we go into the winter season, so definitely be sure to check that out. Now, if you've got any questions for us, please don't hesitate to email info@gearist.com or leave it down in the comment section below. Or if you'd really like to see your questions on an Ask Gearist segment, don't hesitate to let us know. We'd love to address it. Guys, thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us today, and we'll see you next time.